Because of the way God made us sexually, and this is for men and women, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter your particular dimensions, because if he's doing sex right, he literally attaches to you and craves you. And when he says you are gorgeous and the most beautiful woman in the world, he totally means it, and he's telling you the truth because he's been neurologically reinforced to you for decades. I want to take time and talk about how God made us sexually. This is beautiful, it's wonderful, and it's powerful. And this will be important to everyone to understand. So let's get right to this topic. When I was in Bible school, I had a question from my professors, and none of them really had an answer for me. The question came from the verse out of 1 Corinthians 6:18. Flee sexual immorality. All of the sins a person commits are outside of the body. But whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. My question to my professor and to you is, why are sexual sins different? And why does sexual sin affect our body? It doesn't say when you steal it affects your body or when you do other sins, but rather when you sin sexually, it affects your body. Now, after Bible school, I went and received 2 degrees from seminary and asked those professors the same questions, but they also had no real answers as to why this sin was different. But this question stuck with me as my career as a counselor and treating men who have sexual addictions was growing, and all the pain that these men and women go through. Well, it was early in my career in the 90s, and a field of neuroscience started to develop. And they had an interest in brain and sexuality. And what they discovered were several things. First, when we have a sexual experience of any kind, we have the highest level of endogenous opiates that hits the prefrontal pleasure center of the brain, flooding it with these incredible chemicals. The highest chemical reward you get for anything is sexuality. Now, if you've ever had a sexual encounter, you know exactly what that feels like. And it's a big wow to the brain, causing it all kinds of pleasure, not only in the brain, but through your entire body. It's a wonderful design. Now, here is the beauty and the dangers of the next part of what happens to your brain during a sexual experience. The second thing they learn is what happens to your brain is it literally attaches to, it glues to whatever you are beholding during that encounter. You chemically attach to whatever or whoever you are looking at during a sexual encounter. Now, third, your brain encodes this image or person in a desirable way so that you actually desire that image or person again and again and again. Now, when I do women's conferences, I explain to ladies, because of the way God made us sexually, and this is for men and women, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter your particular dimensions, because if he's doing sex right, which we'll talk about when we come back from break, he literally attaches to you and craves you. And when he says you are gorgeous and the most beautiful woman in the world, he totally means it, and he's telling you the truth because he's been neurologically reinforced to you for decades. Now, you remember maybe in Psychology 101 in high school or college, and they talked about Pavlov's dog. You know, ring the bell, feed the dog, ring the bell, feed the dog. And then when the dog heard the bell, it would begin to salivate. Now, that's what Pavlov did. He would ring the bell and feed the dog, and they would get excited of the ringing of the bell, expecting to be fed. He called this classical conditioning, and it's how we are made sexually. That is why when you are married to each other, you can just look at each other and be aroused by your spouse. Now, this is an important part to understand about how we are made sexually. I want to take a break here because so many people in the church have a wrong idea about sexuality. They talk about it or not talk about it because they almost think like the devil made sex. Okay, the devil didn't make sexuality. He didn't make anything. Actually, the devil doesn't create anything. The devil is not a creator at all. Okay, what he tries to do is pervert what's created, but he doesn't create. He didn't create a blade of grass. He couldn't create a blade of grass. Okay, so this is God who made this process. It is God who made us sexual. Sexuality is good. Sex was happening in the garden before the fall. You got to understand this principle because so many people think sex happened after the fall and sex is a result of the fall, and that is a lie from the pit of hell. The first thing God told all the animals to do, including man, is to go forth and multiply. All the animals were being sexual in the garden. Sex was happening all the time. Okay, sex is a pure gift from God. And we've got to reclaim that. We've got to take back sexuality. All research shows that the people most happiest sexually are godly women. Okay, because they're relational, they're connected, they're using sex in the right way. But we need to get back to teaching men that sex is good. It's sacred. It's worth protecting. And get us out of the mindset of almost a secular worldview of sexuality, that it's yours and you can do what you want. And this is what's happening to our young people. Probably anyone under 40 thinks their sexuality is theirs. They don't think it's God's. We've moved that far away even in the church that we don't teach that our sexuality belongs to God. Romans 12 says that for us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, that this is our act of worship. And we've got to get back to this place where sexuality is holy. And that we need to, as believers, see it as clean, see it as holy, see it as good, see it as worth protecting, see it as worth understanding and expressing in the context of marriage, and be okay with this topic. And when you lead a group, you can really break down a lot of walls for men just so they can start talking about it in a godly way. Not locker room stuff, but God stuff. Whether you're sitting at a fast food restaurant or a breakfast place, or you're in your house, you can open the doors of their hearts by opening these books and walking through these principles. So I really want to encourage you to do that.